Let's do it again. I like muted myself because I was like, I don't know. I didn't think it would affect the background. Then I was like, it definitely did based on
It
the
definitely
noise. All right, take two.
did.
Blessed with a championship prosperity the likes of which we have never seen. Cursed by a past riddled with despair. This is Blursed.
Ah, dude, this is the stat right here now.
That
Welcome
is.
back to Blurst. Today is Thursday, January 12th. I'm your host, Hayden Cummins, and I'm joined once again, and as always, by Blake and Aaron. And if you're here, you know we are going to get into the nitty gritty of UGA's complete dismantling, dissection, disemboweling of Texas Christian University. They may have to change the name of their school after this one, fellas, because that game has to have them questioning their faith. They were living on a prayer to beat UGA, but found no God in California.
There it is.
After a few days to
Seems
digest
accurate.
this one, how you guys feeling?
Oh boy. I mean, I can't. I mean, this is amazing. This is a new feeling. We don't know. This is new uncharted territory for us as far as back to backs.
Yeah, I mean it's on. Oh wait. First, let me just say this: I was wrong. Alabama won back to back. I don't know why Google let me down last week. I just need to clarify. But you know it doesn't matter because we're
User
the
error,
we're the last
you know.
back to back winners, so it doesn't
Yeah,
even matter.
that's right.
There you
And
go.
first
right.
to the college football playoff, and yeah, I mean, man, it's the weird part is like we all talked about it last week. We were like, yeah, the Dogs are gonna win this, and they're gonna win it handily. And boy, did we! And it still was surprising to us at the moment. It's just like, is this real life? Is this what's
I
happening
think we
right
all
now?
projected us to cover the spread, but
Mhm.
not
Yes.
to that extent.
No.
That was something unlike we'd ever seen before in a championship game in college.
In a
at
bowl
least.
game period. It was
Yeah.
the biggest margin of victory in bowl history. Not even championship game. Just like that's the craziest part is you would think there'd be
Yeah.
some the Alamo
So another
Bowl.
another crazy stat that I saw is the most points scored against a top 5 ranked team ever, regardless of bowl or regular season or
Man.
conference ever. Any college football game that's ever happened on record. If you're in the top 5, you've never given up 65 points.
You know they've given up a lot of points when your fourth string running back has scored 2 touchdowns. So
boy,
shout out to Branson Robinson who looked really
Yeah.
good.
Oh my, the whole team
Um,
looked really good.
mhm.
I mean, it's really funny because we talked about how we didn't play perfect against Ohio State and we didn't need to win. We played perfectly against TCU. Like,
yes, and then
we had
saw what
one
happened.
one
Nothing.
miscue. One miscue the whole
early on in the
yeah.
game, we had a blown coverage that they didn't
Right.
even end up scoring on that play. They scored a couple plays later, but still,
Right.
we gave up 60 yards on that play. How many total yards did they have on the day?
188. So
Holy
33%. And 1/3 of their
I
yardage
mean,
came on
I
that
think
one
Georgia
play.
had somewhere around 400 more yards than they did.
Yeah, we had
I think we were in the high fives.
yeah, no, we had 401 more yards than them.
Crazy.
I mean,
Yeah.
it felt good after that one big play. So TCU got the ball to start the game. We got them on a quick 3 and out, and then Georgia just marched right down the field and Stet ran the first one in. It felt like everybody just knew what was going to happen. Like after that, it felt like the confidence was there. It felt like TCU was overmatched, like athletically, strategically, in every aspect of the game, and it didn't feel like it was going to be close at that point. They did go down and score to tie it up. Or no, they didn't.
No,
No,
they were
tied
down
up. It was
10
10-7. Yeah, we got the
10
ball
to
back. Yeah.
Mhm.
So they had it close after that one score that they had, but yeah, then after that it was just I don't know, it was bloodshed. It was
A couple
bad.
things, but based on what you just said. First, you hit the nail on the head, and because there's a couple of Ohio State fans at my work who are like still bitter, which I get it. We were bitter 5 years ago when Georgia lost to Alabama because we felt cheated. We felt like we should have won that national championship, and I mean, and the Falcons years before, like we get that. I understand that, but the thing is, you're right. Georgia did not play their best game. We played far from our best game against Ohio State, and we still beat them. And we beat them because we are the better team. And a lot of times the better team will come out and win. And that's the same thing that happened to us. Alabama was the better team that year. They beat us. It sucks. But we played darn near perfect, and TCU was going to have a perfect game to even make this a close game.
Yeah.
And it was far from perfect for them. And I mean, how can you play perfect when Georgia's playing? Like, when a team's playing that well, what are you supposed to do?
I've never seen the only thing that I would, if I were Sonny Dykes, that I would want to figure out the origins of looking back on this game is I have never seen a team's will to win be crushed quicker.
Oh, yes.
I mean, like things were on when they went down and scored, and it was they held us to a field goal on an and goal situation.
Thanks, Brady.
They get the big play. Yeah, thank you, Brady. I'll never forgive him for that. They get the
superstitious
big play,
guys,
and they go down and score after that, and it's 10-7. Their fans get into it. And then we immediately go. I believe that was the ensuing drive was when we hit Ladd on that wide open touchdown.
It was.
And then it was all Georgia again, and it felt like us going back up by 10 in that moment was the straw that broke the camel's back for their confidence, which is strange to me. I mean, unless they just knew what was about to happen, I felt.
Yeah, the nail in the coffin had to be that interception Duggan threw right near the end of the half, and then we scored another touchdown and it became 38. Because 31-7
was crazy.
Well, there were two in a row there at the end of the half. Over.
Yeah, but like I remember the Falcons 28-3. I'm bringing it up only for the point where I was like 31-7. I was like, that's pretty similar to 28-3. Like, I mean, I felt at that point the game was out of hand because Georgia just looked so dominant. There was no question about the dominance. But then that pick into another touchdown, I was like 38. It's over. Like this is.
Have you guys ever met someone that graduated from Harvard University?
A couple.
Okay, they bring it up all the time, right? It's like it is like the biggest. No one brings up anything more than Harvard graduates bring up the fact they graduated from Harvard.
Harvard, yeah.
Close on that list is Blake bringing up 28-3. I don't get it. It
scarred me for life, Aaron, and it's something that Jess still talks. Could I bring it up when I was talking about this game? And she goes, "You're never gonna get over that, are you?" I said, "Absolutely not. I don't even think the Falcons winning the Super Bowl will get me over that."
What you're seeing here is a case study in trauma, and two different techniques of handling trauma. One is complete dissociation, and the other is to embrace and talk about it. And so when those two collide, it causes trauma for both parties.
This is healthy. It's healthy to accept it, Aaron, and to be able to talk about it. I'm sorry. Okay, I bring up trauma for everybody bringing it up, probably. There's some people at home listening like, motherfucker, again.
Yes.
He keeps doing it. I mean,
he can't keep getting away with it.
Getting back into the complete blowout here. Yeah. I mean, we have to bring up the defensive play of Javon Bullard.
Oh, man.
Just like the two games that he had are ridiculous. I think he's a junior, right?
I was going to ask, does he have another year?
I mean, he had, like, his draft stock had to, like,
soar, this playoffs for him. Well, I mean, this year in general, but these playoffs.
Well, there's also a question, too, that
I saw. 3 turnovers.
Yeah. He recovered the fumble and had both picks.
God, but I also saw like the question of like on that blown coverage, some people are blaming him, but the fact is, if it was zone coverage, it wasn't his fault. But if it was man, it was. And I don't know if we'll know who. It looked like it was his fault in the blown coverage, but apparently, if it was zone, that was Keely Ringo's zone.
By the way, Javon Bullard is a true sophomore.
Oh no, one more year. Dude, that's the craziest part about this team. And when I talk about it with my coworkers, is that besides Stetson, which is a big like. Wow, at the beginning of the season, who would have thought that would be a big question? Like, what was going to happen? Because in the beginning of the season, we're like, yeah, Stetson's the guy, but he's not a great quarterback. At the end of the season, I am convinced that he should get drafted. Like, someone should give him a shot. But my point is, this team next year might be better than this year's team. Everywhere else.
Depending on the quarterback play, there was something about Stetson that was magical. There's not really much I can define beyond just saying that. I don't really know. It's not tangible. It's other than what you see with your eyes. So that's hard to replicate, obviously. But another thing that's hard to replicate is losing 15 players to the NFL
the year
draft.
before, right? Exactly.
And we did that.
It's the sheer confidence that Stetson has that whatever he does is going to work. Like I just feel like he has this blind confidence. Like when he throws a pass, that our guy will come down with it. Like something good will happen.
And there are many other things I know that we're going to talk about this game. But while we're here, Carson Beck looked really good. He's looked all good all year. There's never been a point where he's come in and not looked good. And he's had a lot of playing time, especially in the first half of the season when we were blowing folks out.
He had that fourth down conversion, right?
Yeah. When we went forward on 4th and 5, we threw a deep slant not deep, but like 8 yards to get the first down.
Yeah.
And it was beautifully thrown. It was in between two defenders. I mean, the guy looks really good.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to say, like, it is nice we got a lot of these guys in on a big stage to get a little bit of experience. Maybe,
For sure.
helps out down the line with some jitters. But I mean, all the guys that are behind Stet and have been for the last couple of years, they all have better physical tools than Stet does.
Yeah.
Maybe they might not be quite as quick, but as far as like pure quarterback, like, I don't know, attributes that you look for, they're all better and they're highly recruited.
Absolutely.
And the thing that I would hope that those guys take is that special thing that Stet has, the drive and like the grit that he has. If they inherit any of that from Stet, then we're going to be in the same spot next year. Maybe not in quite as big of a blowout because it doesn't seem like we'll be running into a team
like that again.
Is it 12 teams?
It's hard to say weak, but because they made it, but like holy shit, they looked really bad.
I do want to address that though. I don't. So a lot of people think TCU didn't deserve to be there. I want to say based on the metrics that the college football playoff has made, they did deserve to be there.
Yeah, I think they should have been the 4.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think they should have been the 3.
I agree with that. And maybe we play Ohio State or Michigan in the championship. Yeah. I'll agree with that. And I'll give you that credit. But for everyone who said they shouldn't have been there, they did deserve to be there. And they beat Michigan. I mean, they beat the team that was undefeated who had gone the rest of the way.
I mean, everyone coming into that game, no one thought they were going to beat Michigan. I certainly didn't. I didn't even think it was going to be close. The only other thing I wanted to bring up there was that if you go down that argument of like, oh, it's got to be the best 4 teams, not the most deserving 4. Well, why are we even playing the games then?
Right. Yeah.
What are we even doing?
Yeah.
The best 4. What are you talking about? This is how we figure that out. We play games.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. And is it 12-team playoff next year? Does that start?
I think it is going to start next year. They all voted. All the bowls got together and voted that they're going to end the contract that had a few years left on it for the 4-teamer, and I believe it is going to start next year.
And the good news about that is, I think a team like
starting
TCU,
with the 2024 season, I think
2024.
So one more year. They did agree to shorten it, but I guess not this upcoming.
I think originally it was 2025. So yeah, they got a year off of that.
So in 2024, I'll say teams like TCU might get bounced earlier, but who knows? They beat Michigan this year, so it's hard to say. But I will say in the 2024. You might see 4 SEC teams in the Final Four. Like you could very well see that. I saw that stat that 13 of the last 17 championships have all been won by SEC schools.
That's crazy.
And the only other teams were, I believe, Florida State, Ohio State, Clemson, and did Oregon win one? Or no, they lost Ohio State.
Mariota took them 2-1.
That's right. Maybe it's just those 3 teams.
I mean, Clemson won 2 though.
2, yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So I mean. And not to keep shitting on TCU, but looking back to that Michigan TCU game, it feels a little bit like Michigan killed themselves with 2
absolutely.
Sixes. And so TCU barely pulled it out still, but yeah, that's just the difference.
Michigan made mistakes.
Oh, if you look at it, the game honestly played out similarly, except Georgia didn't make any of the mistakes Michigan did. I mean, as far as, TCU's defense gave up big play after big play to Michigan. It's just that Michigan fucked up. They fumbled on their own first in their own end zone, or not their own end zone, in TCU's end zone on the first drive. We all know what happened after that with the 2 pick sixes. So honestly, I think Michigan should have blown them out too. Not like that. It wouldn't have been that bad, but I think they should have won by like 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, but that's the example of what we're talking about. Like Michigan was the better team, but they lost, and that's why TCU deserved to be there.
Correct.
So it's just the way the cards fell, and it'll be interesting when we get to the 12-team playoff, because a lot of people that are outside of the SEC like to look at bowl record, especially like when games don't matter.
Right.
Yeah, that's the biggest.
And they like to be like, oh, the SEC's not that good now that they're playing all these other conferences in bowl games. But nobody gives a shit about bowl games unless they're in the top 4 in the playoff.
Yeah.
And so it's going to be very interesting when all these teams that are in the SEC that make it, if there's 4 teams out of the 12 that make it, and see what the record is then when everybody's turning it on and giving it their all. No, people probably aren't going to be leaving for the draft and not playing in bowl games.
Nah. And if you look at
that, you look at like what the SEC did in the bigger bowl games that weren't part of the playoffs. Tennessee beat Clemson. That's the ACC champion right there.
LSU murder Purdue.
LSU absolutely murdered Purdue, who was in the Big Ten title.
But we actually beat TCU by more points than LSU beat Purdue.
They
only
did
by 2,
because
though.
LSU had the reigning title of biggest defeat in a bowl game ever for about like 4 days.
4 days,
and which was great. But one thing, sorry, that just we were talking about Carson Beck a second, and when we did that, I looked up his stats just from this year, and I think it's really cool. He ended up throughout the year playing about the amount you would have a full game. He basically got one full game worth of stats in, and boy, are they good. Throughout the year, he went 26 of 35, which is a 74% completion rate for 310 yards, 4 touchdowns, and no picks.
That's exceptional.
Yeah. The guy, the kid, exactly what Hayden was saying a second ago. All the guys behind Stetson had that, I believe Carson Beck was a 4-star. They have that look about him that Stetson doesn't.
The pedigree.
Yeah, the pedigree. Thank you. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. I mean, he's got a rocket arm. So if he can take some lessons from the way Stetson was able to work,
the humbleness too of Stetson, like just being the guy who comes in every day and works hard as he can, because that's the only way he's going to win is by doing that.
Right.
Something else I thought that was impressive about the game, as we're just talking about cool highlights, was that Georgia ran 72 plays and we scored 65 points. At one point, it was 64 plays and 65 points.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's just stupid how many points we score, how effectively and how efficiently we scored.
It felt like a video game. Like, if you ever played NCAA 14 was like the last one they released.
Yeah,
if you ever played that like on rookie mode and like just to like have fun.
Or play an FCS school on there.
Yeah, that's what it felt like, except this was the biggest game of the year, and people were upset about it. People were very upset that this was the championship game. There's
let's be
interesting
honest,
TikToks
though.
going around on that.
One of my things about that was like the Dogs all year proved they were the best team. Like I'm saying like maybe college football in a whole might have had a down year for other teams being as good, but like the Dogs all year proved they were the upper echelon. Like we were undefeated through everything. The good teams we played, we beat handedly all year long.
Yeah.
We
we only performed poorly against the only good team we performed poorly against was Ohio State.
And we still beat them, right?
Yeah, we still beat them. And then, the other games, it was a 2-point win against Missouri and an 8-point win against Kentucky.
Yeah.
I mean, credit to Kentucky and Missouri.
As Kirby would say, every road game in the SEC is a tough game.
It ain't easy to win on the road in the SEC, folks.
And he ain't wrong.
He's not. But okay, I sent y'all this about an hour ago. I don't know if y'all were able to look at it, but on Twitter. But it was I think it was Jack Mack at Barstool. He on one of their Barstool podcasts was talking about the like North Korea-esque gaslighting that Kirby Smart is clearly doing to his football players.
Oh yeah, like 66.
Because if y'all went and saw some of the things that our players were saying after the game, now there's a certain level of disrespect that Georgia certainly was handed this year, and the fact that we did nothing but win, and then they still put us at 3 for the Tennessee game, and then people saying, they almost lost Kentucky. They almost lost to Missouri. They lost all those players to the NFL. There was disrespect given.
Yes.
But one of our defensive linemen, I can't remember which one it was, but after the game, he was being interviewed by Brady Quinn and somebody else for ESPN. And he was like, y'all said we were going to go 6-6. And I was like, who said
Nolan
that?
Smith had an interview like that too. And you're just like, what the fuck? Who said?
Nolan Smith
Nobody
was like, y'all thought we were going to go 7-5 after last. No one said
No
that.
one
Obviously, these guys don't listen to Blursed yet because we all predicted them to actually go undefeated and win the national championship, which makes it sound like homers, but that's the advantage that UGA had going into the year.
Correct.
If you knew anything about the team.
Yes. And so they pointed out that it's like Kirby Smart must have like they're not able to watch anything other than like closed circuit television within the facility. And it's just like state media. Or just like Kirby gets some film students to act like they're on ESPN talking about how UGA is going to have a losing record this year.
UGA has a great journalism school, so it could be the case.
Right.
It could be the case. That's hilarious.
I just thought that was really funny.
Question: If you're the coach of the Horned Frogs, what do you say to your team at halftime? What do you say to your team at halftime?
I think I'd give them the silent treatment. I don't know. What do you say?
No, I'm with Hayden. I think because of what I said earlier about how quickly it seemed that their will disappeared. Sonny Dykes had to have felt that himself. In fact, I know he did because on that last touchdown to go up 38-7, where A.D. Mitchell one-handed it, there's that shot. I'm sure y'all saw it because I think they found it during the game. There was that shot of Sonny Dykes, and you can see him, his eyes. He watches the ball float through the air, and then he just goes,
Here he knows.
wow.
Yeah, here
you can just see him. He just goes, wow.
Yeah,
and I think he wasn't wowing at the one-handed catch. I believe he was wowing at the fact that his team in the second quarter had given up completely.
It's just already over. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
just,
so two interceptions at the end there. Like they handed us the game because we got the ball in their territory twice.
Scored touchdowns on
that
both.
took it from being like 24-7 to 38-7
yes.
at halftime.
At halftime,
you can't. I mean, I respect that they stayed aggressive, but like, I mean, maybe you should have like run the ball a little bit and hope for a first down to get it to halftime.
Dude, I said that too. I said, why did you not run the clock on the halftime?
Great points, because there was no way they didn't let Max Duggan get into a rhythm. I mean,
no,
they ran a couple more.
And they were running
runs.
effectively for a little bit.
They were, but they ran a couple Max Duggan design runs that got blew up in the backfield, and then so that he's already feeling the effects from that. And then I think there was a couple times early in the second half that he dropped back to pass, and pressure was just immediately in his face, and he had to take the sack. I mean, the kid just couldn't get in a rhythm at all.
I mean, we completely dominated on both sides of the line.
Yes.
It was,
yes.
And like, did y'all see that thing where like RG3 had said that TCU had the advantage at quarterback, running back, receiver, offensive
back,
end,
special
defensive
teams.
line?
I watched him
like,
say it live.
What
yes,
the
it was
fuck?
awful.
What?
He
this
was
guy
just
gets
being
paid to analyze
his takes
college football.
are so
Holy
bad.
Shit.
They're so bad.
That's crazy.
He was being a Big 12 homer. I will say, if you watch that show that came on, it almost felt, because I like RG3's takes for the NFL. I think he has good things to say there. But Blake's right. Most of the time when I hear him talk about college, it's horse shit. But it almost feels like it's like some producers telling him to play that role.
Yeah.
Because the panel was
like
Joey
satire
Galloway.
almost.
Yeah, because the panel was Joey Galloway, who went to Ohio State, David Pollock, we know where he went, and RG3. And Joey Galloway and David Pollock were like as pro Georgia as they could have been. And so it just felt like somebody told him to be the TCU. That he had to be the
I mean, I guess you want people to keep watching and not
right.
Just,
they said that at halftime. Pollock's like, we have to convince people why they should keep watching this game because they were talking about it was already over.
Even if that's the case, though, he went a little too overboard on the other side with those.
I think the only people that were still watching the game after halftime were UGA fans everywhere.
Oh, I took it, yeah.
And the TCU fans that were still at the stadium that paid thousands of dollars to be there. Because
my cousin
had to get their money's worth.
My cousin went to TCU and he said he turned the game off at 21-7 because he said he already told his team was broken. He said they were broken at that point. Like it already looked over, and I was like, you saved yourself a lot of heartache by turning it off at 21-7. I read that at media day when they were doing their interviews and stuff with the teams that a lot of bettors noticed how much bigger UGA looked than TCU just physically, and that people just started betting a lot. Like you could see the betting lines going towards UGA after media day, which reminds me of years past. Like I'll never forget this sophomore year of college for me. It was 2016. Alabama came to UGA and I was watching them pregame warm-ups and I was like, holy hell, like those guys are not it's 2015. It's 2015, sorry. Because it was Mark Rick's
last year.
And I was just like, these guys are so much bigger than us. Like,
and so
bigger.
I believe they told this stat on the broadcast too. TCU, I think it was, has 17 4- and 5-star players on their roster, and Georgia has 66. Okay, I'm pretty sure that number is correct.
Holy
66. Shit. That's almost your entire active roster, not including walk-ons. I mean, that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of people like that, what about Bear Alexander, man, as a true freshman
and Michael Williams?
Yeah,
Bear Alexander and Michael Williams had 3 of our 5 sacks, and they're both true freshmen.
Michael Williams reminds me of Will Anderson from Alabama. He's going to be just a problem next year.
Yeah, because he's we have him listed as a defensive end, but if you look at how we play him a lot of times, he's really kind of a hand-down linebacker, almost kind of like Nolan Smith was. Yeah. They don't play the exact same position, but we use them similarly. So exactly what you said, Bear Alexander, Michael Williams, Tramel Walthour had a great game. Nazir Stackhouse had a great game, number 78. I mean,
hell of a name.
Yes, Nazir Stackhouse is a great name. I guess I could go look at the Georgia roster and name every name and say
Every
that.
single name you could say Blake Grant, but like other people coming back next year, Marius Mims, Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard's coming back, Small Mondon's coming back, Brock Bowers coming back. Like
I think the only person we're missing, Nolan Smith, we're losing.
Yes, and Jalen Carter we're losing,
and we're gonna lose.
Which you know what he did between games. He
Keely.
said, Keely Ringo, we lose. Yeah. But like you said though, Bullard's coming back next year. Like the replacements, Barry Alexander will take Jalen Carter's spot in the starting. Like we have such good replacements who got so much playing time this year.
Absolutely.
I heard
Chris Smith. Is Chris Smith a senior? Are we 29?
I think we lose him. I think we lose Chris Smith
too. Anyway, go to what you were saying though.
I would say Jalen Carter was interviewed and he said he was so disappointed in himself after the Ohio State game. He said we weren't ready as a team, and he said I wasn't ready. He said I was gassed the whole time. Like, and Ohio State had a plan. They said we're going to attack that line, make them where we have to get them out on third down, and it worked. I mean, it showed. And I think TCU came in with a similar plan. But Jalen Carter, I heard this during the game, was like, every morning this past week leading up to it, he was getting up at 8 a.m. and running like 100 meters or 100-yard sprints, 100. Like he was getting himself ready for the game because he said, "I'm not going to be the one coming off the field come game day."
That's not necessarily how cardio works, folks. You probably need to prepare more than just a week in advance if you're trying to run a marathon or anything like that. But I do appreciate the commitment to it, and I mean, you know, that was the big thing. That was a huge difference in the two games was our defense, because offense played well both games. There were mistakes in the first one, but defense came to play, and they looked how they did to start the season against Oregon. The bookends of the season, holy shit.
Yeah, from the fourth quarter of the Ohio State game through the whole last game, we gave up 10 points, and we scored, what was it, 18 plus 65? Was that 80?
Something. It was like 86,
points.
I think, or 83. Yeah,
83 points. It's crazy.
That's dominance. And so also to speak to the depth that we have filling these holes of the guys that are going to be getting drafted and leaving the team this year, we are getting into the prime of Kirby's dynasty. We really are.
This is it. Oh, we're here.
We arrived early. We really did when we played Alabama.
Well, Jake Fromm, Jake Fromm was alive early.
And that was unexpected.
Yep.
It really was. And, you know, we didn't have quite the caliber team that we have now. And now, can we become Alabama? Like, will we stay relevant? And that's the battle now, is like you got to stay up on your recruiting. You got to get the best guys in there. We're going to have to start filling holes at offensive and defensive coordinator because they're going to be gone every year.
Right.
Do you think Monken leaves us for a head coaching job? Because I feel like he's at the point in his career he might just stay with us. Like
that's
Kirby
the one thing I'm worried about. But I think he'll stay with Kirby like Kirby did. I
think so. Yeah.
What's his background? Where did he go to school? So that's my question, is like, does he go the Kirby route and he wants to wait? He's going to learn everything he can.
I don't.
And wait.
But Todd's older than Kirby.
Todd's way older. Todd, I think, already has been a head coach. Todd has come back to being a coordinator. Yeah. In fact, I'm looking at it here. He was the head coach for 3 years at Southern Miss.
He went to Grand Valley State and Knox College, so he's not going to try to go coach to those places.
Right. He spent a lot of time in the NFL. He was a coordinator for the Browns, the Bucks, and the Jags.
He may go back to the NFL. I could see that.
56 isn't necessarily like, oh, I'm going to give up on head coaching.
No, like, I agree with that.
That's prime age of coaching for the next 10 years.
I agree with that. I just don't
think he's going to do it. I mean, I think he's committed to staying here. I mean, he might see himself, but if you look at the career moves he's made, he stopped being a head coach in 2015, and he has made no attempt to go back to doing that since.
And if Kirby sells them on the idea, like, dude, we could put together the greatest dynasty in college football history. When are you going to be a part of that? Like, your name would be in history books for years. Like, he may leave, and you're right. And if you're going to leave, this might be the year to do it because of just how crazy your team just was. But I really hope Todd doesn't leave us.
To me, the only thing I see him leaving for is if an NFL job came open. And I'm not saying he could get an NFL head coaching job.
It's a hard leap.
Yeah, what I'm saying is an NFL team throwing him an obscene amount of money to come be the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. He's not going to get paid as well as he does at UGA as offensive coordinator
at UGA.
as he will anywhere else, probably to be a head coach. So that's a big factor.
Yes,
you know, Athens is a great town people want to live in. And just looking down the line here, like maybe Muschamp goes, but you know, the defense really lives and dies with Kirby anyways.
Yeah.
Mostly lives.
By the way, Hayden, I think you'll enjoy this. Todd Monken is actually who replaced Dirk Cutter for the Bucks on Bruce Arians' staff after Dirk Cutter got fired. So we know Dirk Cutter quite well here in Atlanta.
I mean,
Fortunately,
I'll say too,
unfortunately,
we're starting to build out a coaching staff that has like hierarchies almost, because you have your main coaching staff, people that are actual coaches, but then you have quality control coaches and that kind of shit, like that you see these coaches like, I don't know, fucking Charlie Weiss or whoever that goes to Alabama every year just to learn under Nick Saban, basically so they can rehab their image after they've had a big failure, and then they come back and become a head coach, or they'll work their way up to coordinator at Alabama, then they leave. It's
which
just
is
like
what Will's at. Will's currently the co-defensive coordinator with Glenn Schumann, and then then you've got, who was it we added? I think it was Bobo, right?
Didn't
Mike Bobo come back this year?
Yeah, he's on quality control. Yeah.
Yep.
I'm so glad he's going to get a ring. That is sick.
And so, if we see Monken leave, then maybe we just see Bobo right back in.
I know Hayden and I were two of the few Georgia fans actually on the Bobo train for his entire time.
Man,
here for the most
part. I
loved
Bobo. And
Same, dude.
He was very underrated.
He was underrated.
And the
last time our offense was good.
Had,
but before
I would love
Monken,
to see him with the tools.
It's the best offense we had.
Yes.
Yeah. And Monken's been nothing impressive. Speaking of Monken in this offense, this is a little hypothetical question I have for y'all. I've been seeing a lot of people ask who would win, the 2019 LSU Tigers or the 2022 Georgia Bulldogs. And I understand the LSU Tigers are probably considered one of the greatest teams of all time, that college football team in particular. But, and a lot of people think it'd be a blowout. I don't think it'd be a blowout. I don't know if Georgia loses. I don't know if Georgia wins. A lot of people think LSU would blow out Georgia based on what I saw on Twitter.
No fucking way.
Well, their argument was
discrepancy. I think talent-wise, it's the same.
Yes.
Well, their argument is that
quarterback advantage, wide receiving core advantage.
Well, that's the thing. Their argument was Joe Burrow was better. Like, so if you look at Ohio State, who gave us fits, and you look at also LSU, who gave us fits this year a little bit. Joe Burrow is better than either one of those quarterbacks, and their wide receiver core with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, and Terrence Marshall is way better than those wide receiver cores.
I don't know if it's way better.
Justin Jefferson is maybe the greatest. They're the two best wide receivers in the NFL right now.
Hold on. Okay, yes, you're right. Jamar Chase was the guy at LSU when Burrow was there. Chase was the
Justin Jefferson was there too.
I know. But what I'm saying is Justin Jefferson was not the Justin Jefferson we know now when he was at LSU. Yeah. Was he extremely good? Yes. Well, we can't say that this Justin Jefferson that we know now.
He was a better receiver that year. He was better than Jamar Chase that year.
Okay. As far as, and I don't have the numbers here in front of me, but I believe that when that was going on, when that when that team was happening, did he not have more notoriety, Jamar Chase, than Justin Jefferson?
I could be wrong. So Justin Jefferson had 111 catches, 1,540 yards, and 18 touchdowns that year,
which is amazing. It's phenomenal.
And
what did Jamar Chase have?
So Jamar Chase that year had 84 catches for. You are right here. He had more yards, 1,780 yards and 20 touchdowns.
Okay, so I remembered him as more of the big play guy. So, and that's what those numbers seem to indicate.
I mean, but you're not wrong though. This is actually Jamar Chase had better numbers than I thought that year.
No, I mean that Jamar was the big play guy. Justin Jefferson was the workhorse.
Holy shit, guys, we're in the weeds here. Let's get back.
But my point is this: is that I
did
think
a whole research over here.
But those two receivers were better than Ohio State's receivers at the time. Is my point. So my thing was, a lot of people were saying who would win that game. I think Georgia has a shot because our offense is high powered as their offense, and our defense is better than their defense.
I certainly see the argument, yes, but I think what Hayden said, it would be the difference maker. Who do you think is the better coaching staff? Our coaching staff now, or
absolutely
Gumbo Boys?
How many years after Joe Burrow left did Coach O stay at LSU?
One more, I think.
Well, I think it was one. I think it was just maybe it was two. It could have been two,
and then
or 1.5.
The next
guys, they found something special that year, and UGA is built something entirely
But that was the question
different.
Was that one team could beat this one team. And I think if you're both playing your best games, I think UGA wins that game. And I know that's contrary to a lot of belief on the Twitter.
No, I agree.
But I think we get a bad rep because the Ohio State game didn't go exactly how we had planned as UGA. But that was also us not playing our best game and us still winning. And I don't think we get enough credit for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's This is the MJ LeBron one-on-one conversation.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point.
Like,
it's never going to happen. People are just always going to debate it. It doesn't matter
never
that
gonna
we
happen.
almost lost to Ohio State because all people are going to think about when they look back to this season was that UGA won the national championship. And that's
Right.
That's what matters at the end of the day.
yeah,
I just wanted to hit on a couple of guys before we move on. I don't know what else we're going to talk about, but
I want to talk about next year's schedule, but that's it.
okay. So
Yeah.
I'm going to shout out Kenny McIntosh because I just think he's an elite player that is a little
Absolutely.
bit underrated. He's a senior, so he's gone. I was trying to find
I
out
think
like
he
what his
capitulates.
draft stock is, and people were saying like maybe like third round, which I think whoever gets him is getting a steal, like a 3-down running back that can catch the ball to the backfield. He didn't get to do a lot of that because of the depth that we have at the position. I mean, I don't know. We had like 6 players with carries, or I don't know.
I need to capitulate though.
In the national championship.
I thought Kendall Milton was better all year. Like I'm a big Kendall Milton guy because he runs downhill. But what Kenny can do,
He didn't even play most of the year.
No, but the year before and in the games he did play, he does run downhill, and I still have a special place for Milton. I think Kendall Milton's an awesome player, but Kenny McIntosh, he just has the playmaking ability that, yeah, exactly. He can do it all. Like you said, he can literally do it all. He may be like a more well-rounded back than like even James Cook, who got drafted by the Bills last year. Like I think you are 100% right. He will be a steal of the draft for whatever team gets him.
And it says he runs a 4.52, but he seems like one of those guys that is faster
when
he has the ball in his hands. And like he showed when Milton was out this year that he can be the power back too. And like he has a nose for the goal line. He can catch the ball. He can do it all. And I'm excited to see where he lands. That's somebody, if anybody out there plays fantasy football, that's a guy you want to pay attention to going into the draft because not a lot of people outside of UGA fans will have paid much attention to him even after the national championship because he only had 8 carries. He didn't have to do
That's
anything.
wild. Yeah,
You know, no Georgia running back had more than 20 carries this year, whole year. Like no
That
Georgia.
makes
I don't
sense.
even think any Georgia running back had 20 carries this year in a game, which is it's cool.
Yeah, I think maybe Dajon Edwards got close in one game, but yeah, I mean that's wild.
Who else is leaving? Darnell Washington. He only had 1 catch, but he had some really good blocks. He kind of showed his skill set. He was helping Brock out on a lot of those catches, just clearing guys out. He's a monster.
We're gonna lose Kiaris Jackson too, by the way.
Yep, and like he's one of those guys, like the group of
German.
receivers that like they would pop up every now and then through the season that
What
would
about Ladd?
make a big play.
Ladd's a sophomore, dude. He was a freshman last year.
Let's
We've got Ladd. I mean, he's a redshirt sophomore, but he's not gonna go to the NFL.
Not this year. Yeah,
he's a guy that's going to ride it out. I mean,
Arian Smith, A.D. Mitchell, both sophomores as well.
You know, Bill Belichick is salivating at Ladd.
Oh God, yeah.
You know,
He's
we
just
also
licking his chops.
landed like the 2 best wide receivers in the portal too, the transfer portal.
Yes, yeah. The guy from Missouri, I forget his name. Oh,
Was he the one that gave us fits this year?
Yes. So basically Kirby was like, all right, let's get that guy. Let's make sure he can't do that again.
What?
Okay.
I don't remember his name, but I remember a guy specifically as like making us look.
Was it Lovett?
Yes, I think
Dominic
it was Lovett.
Let's
I
see.
think Lovett is the guy. Look that up real quick.
Wow.
Yeah, he does. It is him. He transfers to us.
Yeah. So we got Missouri's best player.
I like that.
And then there
I
was
like it.
one other guy. And then I've also heard rumors we might get South Carolina, one of their really good defensive linemen. I forget his name too, but that'd be also really cool.
What about going out? I know there were some announcements, like I think on Tuesday after the game. So everybody wants to get their ring still, but I think like maybe a deep tight end, like far down the depth
Jordan
chart.
Oh
Tight
yeah,
end.
it was
Eric Gilbert.
Eric Gilbert, yeah, which is fine.
That's fine. He didn't play for us anyways. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So, would you guys want to get into to next year's schedule?
Wait, before I have a couple highlights I want to hit on real quick.
Absolutely.
I thought this tweet was hilarious. Kirby Smart winning 2 national championships with Stetson Bennett is arguably the most impressive accomplishment in the history of not only college football but the entire human experience. I just thought that was awesome.
That is hilarious.
I think Kirby Smart's getting his roses. Like people are realizing that he is the real deal.
He's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy. This other part was cool. Georgia returns 75% of this roster. Plus, they landed the top 2 wide receivers from the transfer portal in 2023. So
Crazy.
75% of this roster comes back. So
speaking of that, I was looking at our offensive line. Broderick Jones, our starting left tackle, sophomore. Xavier Truss, the left guard, junior. Cedric Van Pran, my boy, the center, sophomore. Tate Ratledge, the other guard, sophomore. Warren McClendon, the other tackle, junior. So I believe we're returning our entire offensive line.
That's a big deal.
I thought Broderick Jones was draft eligible.
Hell, well, yeah, Broderick Jones is draft eligible, as is Warren McClendon, but I don't think either one's declared. I'm not saying they won't.
Yeah. I think Broderick will, because a lot of people think he may be the best tackle in the draft. If he does go.
And if he does go, Amarius Mims, who was a sophomore, he rotated in a lot this year. The dude's also extremely good. So I would not be in any way disappointed if Broderick left, because Mims would just step right into that role, I think.
This Pro Football Focus mock draft has Baltimore Ravens taking Darnell Washington with the 24th pick.
Damn. That's crazy.
Our second string tight end?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the very same. That's wild. But hey, I mean, the dude's huge. He's big. He can block.
He's a monster.
He can do it all, man.
Yes, he can hurdle folks. God, he's so good. Blake, did you have anyone else you wanted to?
No, that was the last couple of things I wanted to mention. Just there's so much stuff you could talk about this. I guess the biggest blemish that we could talk about is the fact that unless they do a rule change, Stetson Bennett can't actually enter the College Football Hall of Fame. We talked about this a little bit amongst our friends.
They should do that. I think they'll do a rule change.
The reason why is, if you don't know, you have to be an All-American. And it's crazy, too, that he wasn't an All-American either, because he was
an All-American holder at one point.
But yeah,
we did miss the kick after he came out of the game.
Yeah, that's a great point. Also, I was kind of really sad about that, because that's the last kick Pod will ever kick in his UGA career. We lose Pod also.
Podrick.
So yeah, he missed the extra point that would have put us up 66-7 instead of 65. But
pity.
Yeah, kind of weird. Anyway,
we'll take that scoregami.
No, so that's another thing. We're gonna have a new kicker next year. I think we actually carried a backup kicker the entire season, which is wild. I've never seen a team do that. Jared Zirkle was his name.
That's right.
Zucchini Zirkle. I
think we said to circle his name at the beginning of the year.
Yes,
circle it.
But I mean, maybe that's one of the things that Kirby learned from his time in Alabama, that they underthought the kicking position.
Yeah. Kirby's actually giving scholarships to kickers, which is something Saban doesn't do.
Yeah. So it's an important thing, and it burned Alabama quite a few times over the years.
It did.
So,
did y'all see the Dogs
maybe we won't have that.
eating wings during the game?
Yes, that's crazy. It was that big of a game.
That's so disrespectful. That is so disrespectful.
Or so big of a lead, I mean. All right, so let's take a quick peek at this 2023 schedule.
Pretty easy.
If you guys want. What?
Yeah, people are already bitching about this that aren't YouTube
I know,
fans, by the way.
It's great.
It is great.
You guys are going to love it. All right, so I've got it right here if y'all want me to put it in the group or something.
I got it up too.
Did you bring it up? Okay. So first thing, right off the bat, we have 4 straight home games to start the year. So that's pretty cool.
Kind of bummer though. Like the lineup, if you're trying to go watch a game at Sanford Stadium.
Well, so that Saturday, September 9th, the second game, that was going to be Oklahoma.
Oh,
but they had to reschedule that because they're moving to the SEC.
SEC, that makes sense.
So yeah, we start off the year September 2nd in Athens between the hedges with UT Martin.
Woo!
So we welcome in the Skyhawks. So I'm not saying we need to go through and predict each game, but that does seem like a dub.
We'll do that at a later point.
Yeah. We then welcome in Ball State.
Cardinals, baby.
Our former head high school football coach's alma mater. Shout out Coach Seagraves. South Carolina then comes into town for our first SEC game.
I think I might try to go to that game.
Yeah, that'd be a good one to go to because South Carolina, that's a team to watch next year.
Yeah, I agree.
The way they ended this year was phenomenal. You were, but half a year.
Half a year. But they did lose to Notre Dame. They did lose, but it was a good game. They played Notre Dame really well.
And then they beat Clemson and Tennessee in back-to-back weeks, which is just crazy.
They ruined Tennessee's season.
Oh yeah. So then after South Carolina, we go to another alma mater of someone who's close to us. That's right, Rick, our friend. He went to UAB. And UAB is coming on in after receiving their own death penalty.
That's Roddy White's alma mater, right?
UAB, yes, it is Roddy White's alma mater. And
we gotta watch out for them. Because that's the team that I always use as an example of a shitty team that we play.
Yes.
So.
Well, and it's funny you say that because UAB is actually at a pretty high point in their program. They beat BYU in a bowl last year. This year, they also won their bowl game. I think their conference too. So UAB, although we played them last year and I think beat them like 69-7 or something. Still though, a decently talented group.
Sounds
of
like a
team.
national championship game to me.
Yes. Well, so then we do something that's kind of weird. We go to Auburn in the month of September. That's never happened
Again,
lifetime.
Didn't we play them early this year too, though?
Not that early. We played them before Florida, yes, but I don't think we played them in week 5.
Yeah.
That's super early.
The crazy part, too, about the schedule is then you do SEC until the very end of the schedule, too. Auburn, like the next couple games, Auburn, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Florida, Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee. You're just hitting SEC. That's a hard stretch of games, regardless of where they're ranked at the time we play them.
Right.
And I could foresee a lot of these teams being top 25 by the time we play them, especially like Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, potentially.
Yeah, that's 7 straight SEC games right there.
That's a lot.
But yeah, so yeah, at Auburn, we bring Kentucky to Athens. We go visit Vanderbilt, which is another home game like we talked about. We get the bye week before Florida. Then Missouri, then Ole Miss, then go at Tennessee. Now, I think this is why they switched the schedule up a little bit. They wanted Georgia and Tennessee to play late in the year.
Yeah, a little primetime action
so
potentially.
Second to last game will be in Neyland Stadium. That's going to be huge.
It's a tough place to play, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
It's good news for us. We have Ole Miss at home because I think Ole Miss will be another good team next year. Lane Kiffin's doing good stuff out there. Kentucky will be without Will Levis next year, so we'll see where they're at in their program. But yeah, I'm just thinking right now another undefeated season and probably three-peat. So
why do you do this? But yes,
I was just going through Tennessee's schedule
to
just to try to think about where they might be when we match up with them. They do play at Alabama next October, so one would guess probably they would come in with at least one loss, but you know.
Yeah, you think Alabama's going to be looking for revenge?
Yeah, they got to.
Yeah. Pretty horde.
They have pretty horde.
Horde. And then of course we close it out at Georgia Tech, another home game. So Georgia has like 9 home games this year, also, with playing at Vanderbilt and at Georgia Tech. So pretty cool.
Ayo.
Yes.
Something else. Sorry. No, continue.
No, that was pretty much it for me.
Well, I was gonna say, like, one, I think we can all agree the schedule is kind of, or at least our non-conference schedule next year is pretty easy. But let's remind everyone we do play in the SEC. I know if you're listening to this podcast, you understand we play in the SEC and that actually means something. And I think if you haven't realized this, you're not a fan of the SEC. Wake up. Wake up. It's the best conference, not even close.
And it has been for a long time.
For a long time. But Mark Richt and Paul Johnson both were inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame.
That's right. Old PJ.
So just a big deal. Paul Johnson actually was one of the few Tech coaches to give Georgia a couple fits.
The only one since Georgia O'Leary in the 90s.
Yeah. So both kudos to them. Happy for both of them. It's cool. It's also Mark Richt gets inducted right after we get the back-to-back. I don't know how he feels about it because he wasn't the coach to do it, but I mean, based on his health and everything that's happened, I think he's proud. Yeah, I think he's proud that. I mean, he's the reason the program got to this next echelon.
Yes,
and we wanted more. So
Mark was a victim of his own success.
Yes,
Mark Richt raised the level at this program and then could not raise it again.
Yeah, when you see all the other teams around you, like the Florida's, the LSU's, the Alabama's winning championships, and you're not, you got to make a change. It made sense. So yeah, just some proud dogs right here.
Yes.
There we go. And
God,
since
so
I
proud.
forgot to hit the button, here's one last go for the 2022-2023 season.
How about them dogs?
How about them dogs?
How about them? So
how about them?
Where we want to land, boys? We want to talk about the
let's go
cons
into
a little bit.
One little small, teeny tiny segment, but that I do want to mention is UGA men's basketball. So since we last recorded, we got our first win. Or we're 1-0 in SEC play since I think it was like 3 years ago. And then we also got our first win against our ranked opponent in 5 seasons. We welcomed number 22 Auburn into town. We beat them by 12. We looked great. Then now we did have a bit of a humbling, which is fine. I mean, in this is way above expectation right now. for Mike White's first season.
11-4 with a win over
we're
Auburn.
11-4 with a ranked win. I mean, we're actually looking at tournament eligibility with that ranked win there and the great non-conference schedule.
And Auburn has been the cream of the crop in the SEC men's basketball.
Yeah,
for the last
Auburn
few
out.
years.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Now we did take a stumble right after that. We went to Florida, with Mike White had his homecoming back in Florida, and it was honestly a tale of two halves. UGA started the game extremely well. We actually got up by 13 at one point in the first half, but then Florida went on a run. We started turning the ball over, and we never could claw back into it. We made a comeback at the very end of the game. We got within 1 point, but then Florida ended up going to win by 7, I think. So either way, super, super happy. When you guys listen to this pod, we will have played Mississippi State. It starts in 20 minutes as we're recording this.
Yep.
So that's what I'll be watching when we wrap this up. So hopefully we get another dub.
Good call
there.
Yeah, we're about to hit a major SEC stretch where that's all we play for the rest of the year, it looks like, right?
Oh, well, that's how college basketball works. So they actually divvy up their season into 2.
And then conference.
So everybody plays 18 games. You do 16 conference games and 12 non-conference games.
Wait, you mean 30 games everyone does? You said 18.
I'm sorry. I meant 28.
Oh, 28.
You play 28. So you play 16 conference and you play 12 non-conference. So we're done with the non-conference. Okay. We're going to be playing our third SEC game tonight.
Yeah, and I'll say this about Mike White. Like, this is his first year. Expectations weren't super high coming in the season, just to be honestly just on par with last year, if not a little better. And it shows you that without bringing in all of his own guys, like getting far and get his recruits coming in, he's doing a much better job coaching the talent we do have. And like, that's important. Like, just being able to coach your guys up.
That's more important.
It's more important. It is way more important. Yes. So, I mean, this is good things are happening. Very proud of our men's basketball team.
But yeah, that's really all I just wanted to touch on there. If we want to,
let's segue from there. Falcons. I would say let's just hit another quick one real quick and address Atlanta United.
Yeah. So sad news, but also good news, I think. So we got our new technical director. No, not technical director. President of operations.
I have a little backstory about that, actually.
Yes. So hit us with it.
Yeah.
What's
so
his name?
Garth Lagerwey.
Yeah, Garth.
Hell of a name.
And he played professionally in Germany, actually, for a little. But so cool thing about Garth is that he was the Garth Brooks. The cool thing about Garth was that he was the president of Seattle before us, who another amazing organization who's had nothing but success in the MLS. And the way they do their president process is every couple of years they vote whether to keep him or not. The fans do. It is all done by the
pretty
fans.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so he actually got voted to be kept by the fans, and they were working on restructuring his contract. And
then Atlanta gave him a call.
Yeah, so Atlanta calls and goes, "Oh, did you sign the deal?" And they're like, "No, I didn't sign anything yet." And they offered him right there on the spot, like, "We want you," which is like super exciting because he's a great mind in the MLS, and I think he's going to bring in this new. He's what we need to bring. Yes. And he said something too was like important is that
great mime.
Sorry, yeah, but who's our guy before this?
What? I was miming.
Who was our president before this?
Darren
Ills, yes.
Yeah, Darren Ills.
Garth has a little bit of the background more about the MLS and how to build from the bottom up in the MLS that Darren didn't have. So I think he's coming in to really establish this more as not just a team, but a program, a whole soccer program.
Well, I mean, yes. I don't want to. So one thing people got to understand, I don't think a lot of folks do, is what a huge, immense compliment it was for Darren Eales to go be named the president or the director of football at Newcastle.
Oh, yes.
Because Newcastle is not this ain't your daddy's Newcastle. All right. As it were.
This is Miggy's Newcastle.
Yeah. So yes, well, there's that, but also Newcastle for the entirety of my soccer fandom have been what you would almost classify as a yo-yo club. And a yo-yo club is a team that is better than the second division, but they're not quite good enough to stay in the Premier League each year. So they're constantly getting promoted and demoted.
Relegated. Yeah.
Yes. And so they halfway through last season, while they were in they were in a relegation fight with Everton, my favorite team. It sucks, but they got bought by a bunch of Saudi owners and went from being one of the teams with the least amount of money in the league to perhaps the team with the most money in the league, save maybe Chelsea. No,
Manchester United.
They got more than Chelsea. I think they got more than Man U now. Man City might be the only team that could fuck with Newcastle's pockets.
That's crazy.
It is crazy. And just to show you how quickly money can fix something, Newcastle, after battling relegation last year, Newcastle now find themselves, in third in the Premier League. They are only behind Man City and Arsenal. That is it. So Darren Eales, now it was basically the owners bringing in a lot of players with that money too. But I think it's insane that Darren Eales literally took over Newcastle and they went from being in the relegation to being third in the Premier League in his first season there. So that's the guy Garth Lagerwey is having to replace, which is going to be extremely hard to do. But I think that if anyone was going to do it within MLS, as Blake laid out, it would be him.
Yes. So very excited for him.
Yes. So Joseph Martinez, the heart and soul of this franchise since the beginning, he is departing the club. It looks as though Inter Milan, Beckham's
Miami.
team. Yes, thank you. Inter Miami, Beckham's team down there in South Florida, bought out the remainder of his contract, and so he's going to be down there with them.
That hurts. That part hurts.
To me, it hurts. It certainly hurts in like a nostalgic way.
Yeah,
because it is the last, like with other than Guzan, he's the last player and the most important player outside of Miguel Almiron.
Yeah, we need to build him a statue. Yes.
So, I absolutely think he deserves a statue outside the bins.
Why did he depart, by the way? I know he kind of butted heads a lot with the coach.
Yeah, so he butted heads with him. We obviously decided.
There's been health problems too.
The reason I'm glad Garth Lagerwey is doing this is because while he was the heart and soul of the franchise, we were paying him too much money to not score any goals at all.
Yeah,
and
the
really
fit was weird too, positionally.
When it just comes down to it, that's really all it was. We were wasting too much money on a guy that sat on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
So, is what it is. And so the guy with no ties to him comes in and ships him off to Miami. So that's that makes sense, and I am a fan of the move personally.
Yeah, me too. I think the people we've been interested in since he's taken over, like the whispers you're hearing, and transfer portals have been kind of exciting. He's looking far and wide for players.
And so to wrap up this little mini seg of men's basketball, UGA men's basketball, and Atlanta United. What?
I was like, oh, we're talking about soccer, bro.
No, I know. I was just saying this little mini segment of the two of them here is that I think some folks weren't sure about it, or maybe just didn't care about soccer back then. But I think it's safe to say now that Atlanta United is who broke the Atlanta curse. Because Atlanta United wins their championship in 2018, 5 years ago.
After the Falcons had lost the year before.
Yeah.
Right?
And 2 years before, I think.
Yeah. And then Georgia lost the year before.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we had just suffered the height of the curse. Atlanta United wins an MLS title, and then we proceed to win 3 championships over the next 4 years with the Braves and 2 Georgia ones.
Wrong.
What wrong? How?
No.
Are you saying Braves broke the curse?
Yes.
I just don't see how you could see it that way.
Because
5
when
years,
was the
4
last championship?
championships.
When was the championship last that
What do you
started
mean?
the curse? Who was the team that won the last championship before our wave of good luck here?
The Braves.
The Braves.
The Braves in 1995. When did Atlanta United even come into existence?
Well, first of all, I think this isn't doing what you think it will.
I think it is.
I think it is. I think it is.
2017. Excuse me, 2017. We won a championship in our second year of existence.
You know,
Did the Braves?
I enjoy you, and I enjoy Atlanta United. They're a fun play thing. But
oh wow! Okay,
they are becoming a staple, and very quickly did come into like the main stage in Atlanta because they were successful. Which shout out to Arthur Blank for throwing a lot of money at that.
Absolutely.
But that was nice. I don't think people gave a shit. Like I mean, I'm sorry. I think that's how it was, man.
I would disagree only because of a couple things. That stadium was built for the Falcons and Atlanta United.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was
And
built for the Falcons for sure.
So who has sold more tickets, put more butts in the seats since that stadium has been built? That's right, folks. The
Braves.
Georgia Bulldogs and Atlanta United. Okay. So
Atlanta United also outsold like almost every stadium around the world when it comes to soccer. Like
yes. One other thing though, I think Hayden, I think you could make the argument that yes, the Braves did before Atlanta United win the most recent championship in Atlanta. However, we went to the World Series how many times in the 90s? 4?
Yeah.
4 or 5? Okay,
Yeah,
and we were like not
We won
1 and
in the
4.
90s.
The one that we won was the worst of first year, our worst of those teams. So my whole point is the Braves choked 14 straight pennants away and thus hammering in this curse. I think you could blame the Braves more than thank the Braves.
Well, I mean, they were the only team that was really competitive during that entire stretch. But
that's true.
I just don't think Atlanta United they weren't around. They weren't actually part of the curse. They weren't included.
I agree.
But I think they showed Atlanta
not
they
being
could
around.
Win. Yeah,
I think a new, fresh team that wasn't a part of the curse.
They're not cursed.
Coming in and winning a championship showed, hey, this city can do it. Okay, even all you guys who've been here for 100 years and not won anything, that it can be done, and that's what's happened.
I'll say this: the Falcons.
Here, I'm gonna admin and mute both of you guys. Fuck you. You're wrong, and I love Atlanta United. I'm rooting for them. I'm that guy. But you guys can come off of mute now.
You're an animal.
But
I don't know if Aaron can unmute. Oh, he can.
I did it.
Let's say this: the Falcons lost February 2017. Georgia Bulldogs lose January 2018, and then Atlanta United wins the end of 2018, and then we go on to win more.
An entire episode. I'm gonna build an argument for this. And you know what? I'm gonna bring in.
Let's
Gray.
have one.
Gray's gonna be a 4-person. We're gonna do an around the horn episode, and we're gonna fucking destroy you guys because nobody gives a shit about that championship.
Hayden, find an around the horn like graphic to where someone could like give us points like they do on there. And we actually have points.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. You know what, Aaron? I do have the time to do that. That's all I do. I don't do anything else besides work on this podcast.
Just this, exactly.
It's because we make so much money off of it, you know.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Hayden's able to just.
Thanks, Sam, for sponsoring this segment. Right.
Thanks for hymns.
It is also I do have the time to do this.
Did y'all want to talk about the Hawks at all or not?
I don't.
Not really.
They're bad.
We're still under 500. Trey Young's out tonight. We're playing the Bucks. Maybe we get a lucky dub.
We'll get back around to him next week.
Yeah, we'll get back around to him. Real quick before. Actually, I don't even really want to talk about the Falcons too much either. Let's save our Ritter talk for next week too. Next week, guys. Yes.
Damn it. Okay.
So next week, guys. Because I really just think it's going to lead to such a big conversation, and I think it should be next week will be our Falcons recap of the season, and then also what we're looking forward to. So that will be our episode next week. It'll be really Falcons focused. It's just not pressing to talk about it right now. I do want to mention this though. They had their end of the year press conference today.
I mean, we're only an hour in right now. We have time to talk about the Falcons game.
I know, but at this point, I feel like it's a dog special.
No.
You want to talk Falcons? Okay. We'll talk Falcons. All right, cool.
We're making a football sandwich so people listen to this bullshit we're having in the middle here.
Falcons.
All right. Falcons. The Falcons won their 7th game this season. So, guys, who was right? Blake was. So, just,
Blake
if you listen to me, you may learn some things. You also learn a lot of dumb stuff. That's not true, but...
I think Aaron and I were both under the assumption that Mariota would start the entire season. And if he had, would have been 5.
And just to also say, we had a 1-point win against a terrible Cards team and albeit impressive win.
All right, Ohio State fan.
Over a Bucks team that was completely disinterested because they had already the game meant nothing to the Bucks.
It meant something to Tom Brady because it ruined his blemish. This is Tom Brady's first losing season as a starting quarterback and his first loss.
First time we've ever beat him. Yes.
I think it was a symbolic win actually because of that. Like it was the monkey off our back, and I think it's going to actually.
That's what Art Smith does, folks. Symbolic wins.
Well, no,
that's what he's brought to
Hope
Atlanta.
Springs eternal.
It's about
Shut up, dude. This team is so bad, and he got us 7 wins again.
You know who's got a good culture about him? Desmond Ritter.
This is why I didn't
Maybe
wanna
if
do
you
this
had
today.
fucking played him halfway through the season, they would be in the playoffs right now.
Oh, I
Remember
agree
like
with
5
that.
weeks ago when Hayden and I sat down and said we need at the bye week we need to make the change.
That was
but
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But we said that if he comes in and plays really well, that it's not going to be the golden star for Arthur Smith that some might think. It's going to be exactly what Hayden just said, which is, why the fuck didn't you play this guy from the beginning?
Right.
Save the money on Mariota, bring in somebody else for that money, and play the rookie.
Man, if you have a stopgap quarterback too, you want that person to come in and lead the team, which that was the whole selling point of letting Mariota continue to start. Oh, he's a great fucking leader. He ditched the team after he lost the starting position.
He literally quit.
He did.
That tells me all of that was bullshit press
100%.
speak, and that I think Art knew that Ritter was a better quarterback, and he was buying his fucking time. So
I don't buy
whatever.
that part because he wasn't going to get fired this year anyways. So like I don't think he was trying to buy his own job.
Yeah, but he buys him another year next year.
On himself.
But that was already
buys
happen.
him next year with another.
That was already going to happen. No,
they were already. I think what Hayden's saying is that like he was buying time to have a more favorable look on himself going into next year, which he was going to get anyway. Whereas if he hadn't, the seat might have been a little hotter going into next year.
I get. I mean, I get all the frustrations that we have with him, but I'm gonna say it. Like, I think Art's a good coach, and I also think that next year, if he goes 7-10 again, he's gonna get canned. Like that'll be it. Like this,
he definitely didn't get carried by Dean Pease at all this year.
Yeah.
I mean, our defense was our better, which was good, which is exciting. But let's talk about Desmond Ritter real quick, because that's more what I care about. We can talk about Art next week. So this week's episode talking about Falcons, we're going to focus on Desmond Ritter. Next week we'll talk about Falcons as a whole. I want to dive into Terry Fontenot, Arthur Smith.
I don't know why you keep saying that. Let's just talk about what happened.
Okay. I just want to tell them. I'm telling our fans. I'm telling our people. I'm telling our listeners what we're going to talk about next week, so they know what to expect next week. No, Falcons wise.
Don't tell them. They can come back to guess what we're going to do.
Well, what? I don't. Okay.
Keep do your thing. Do your thing.
All right. So Desmond Ritter played 4 games. He threw for 708 yards. He completed 63% of his passes. He averaged 177 yards a game. He threw 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He was sacked 9 times, and he had a 86.4 quarterback rating. What I'll say about that is every game Desmond Ritter got better. I know the knock that Aaron just said was that the last game was against a disinterested Bucs team, but also you're playing against NFL players, and he's a rookie who's only played 4 games.
Yeah, for Desmond Ritter, I like it.
Yes. Yeah, and also if you look at our receiving core, you have Drake London and a bunch of question marks. You have the unicorn himself, Michael Pruitt. But yeah, for him, what a great game. The first half was not so good. He had a fumble where he literally just went to throw the ball and it slipped out of his hand. It was awful. I don't know how that happened. It was a tough
look. I think he was hoping nobody would look at the replay on that one.
He was looking at the replay.
Somebody hit it, I think.
It was bad. It was not good. It just slipped out of his hand. I don't know how that happens.
It's a ghost fumble.
Yeah, I don't. But after that, if you come back in second half, he comes out and he balled out second half. I feel like he gained his confidence. I think this was a good way to end the year. I was proud of the team because they're not playing for anything. They went out there and still tried their hardest because, I guess they're playing for a contract next year. And also, I really do believe this team bought in to what Art's selling, and I think next year is going to prove that. I'm really optimistic about next year, especially depending on how free agency goes. Tyler Algier, he's set the Falcons rookie record for rushing yards in a season. People are going to be like, well, he played in 17 games. Well, actually, he didn't play in 17 games. He only played in 16. He was a scratch that first week. So he did it in 16 games like a normal NFL season, which is really cool. He actually would have been the rookie leading running back this year if he had played all 17 games. And I think he'll be number 2 in rookie of the year behind Kenneth Walker. So
that's very fair.
For a 5th round pick.
Company.
Yeah, it is.
No, yeah, Kenneth Walker is the truth. I think for a 5th round pick, Tyler Algier was a smash hit.
Absolutely.
I'm very proud of Terry Fontenot and all his picks, really. Drake London finished the year as the 3rd most receiving yards as a rookie, behind Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. I want to have a caveat for that, though, the fact that he actually received 40% of his total yards for the year in his last 4 games.
Nice.
So my point of that is, so he had 866 yards on the season. 40% is like around 300 some yards. So if he would average the 350 every four games, he actually would have put up like 1,300 yards this year, and he would have led all rookie receivers.
And we said it, like when Ritter came in, it unlocked Drake a little bit. They have a good connection. That's what you want to see. And yeah, shout out to Terry, because these offensive pieces that he added in, well, Drake London looks like he has the physical tools to do it. We want to see him clean up his fumbles a little bit.
That was the biggest problem.
But he can go up and moss guys, and he can get in good position to catch the ball. Algier, a 5th-round pick, that's where you want to take your running backs right there. And that's why we talk about it. Don't take the early running back.
No.
Let them come to you. And that's exactly what we did. And then Desmond Ritter. I mean,
we're not sold on him yet, but I'm optimistic.
I don't think we'll draft a quarterback now.
No,
yeah, right. I think he showed up to not do that. Yeah,
and one of the things I really liked, he's using his feet in a way that the quarterback should. And so Mariota is a run-first quarterback, which is not what you want to see. Ritter has good speed, not quite Mariota speed, but he can get out of the pocket if he needs to, and that's what he does. But he keeps his eyes downfield. He can make reads on the run, and that's what we saw on his first touchdown pass to Pruitt this game. And he has a good connection with Drake London on those scramble drills.
Oh yeah, excellent.
That's how you want to see your quarterback using the feet to extend the play, not just scramble to get back to the line of scrimmage or whatever the fuck.
I think something too we talked about whatever the fuck that Mariota was doing. I think something too we talked about the last couple of weeks was that it's process over results right now with Ritter, because that's what you're trying to see. Can he make reads? Is he making good decisions? How is he handling the huddle? How is he doing play calling? Because when he's at the line, he's going can. He's canning the play, calling the next play. Every time he did that, it was a positive game. The entire Bucks game. I'm not as sure about the games before that just because memory, but I think the things you're watching that are harder to coach when it comes to processing, reads, decision making, he does a really great job of. Accuracy and stuff like that, the jitters a little bit will come, I think. I think he just showed it's his 4th game. He's playing against Tom Brady, who's the greatest of all time, and you're playing against a playoff talented. No offense to the Bucks, I think they underperformed a little bit this year, but that defense is still a top 10 defense. The Buccaneers
it's
defense.
Great, yeah.
So,
one thing I want to add to kind of actually maybe for the first time ever give Arthur Smith a little bit of not props per se, but leeway, or at least an understanding. What you were saying there about Ritter being able to go up there, read the defense, can that first look and go to the next play that they have. That may be something that he wouldn't have been able to do if he started from week 1.
Yes.
At least back then. Obviously, he should still have been able to do that now in week 17. But let's give at least a little bit of merit to the fact that he came in more polished than he would have starting in week 1.
100%. I think y'all have a fair argument, and I even agreed with y'all throughout the season that I think Ritter should have played sooner. I do think the biggest disservice to us, though, was the fact that our division was so bad that we were in the hunt for so long.
No, I agree there.
It made it a much harder decision for Art. And I get after watching Ritter play, especially the last 2 games, I'll be honest, the first 2 games, we lost those games and Ritter wasn't going to be the one to win us those games.
If Art was a real coach, he would have just traded Mariota to San Francisco for Brock Purdy.
Yeah, there we go.
and then we would have won out. All right. And then, no, I'm kidding. He has been the best quarterback in the NFL, though, since he started.
You brought up Ritter and then Tom Brady. You guys know how old Ritter was when Tom Brady was drafted?
Is he born?
Less than 1.
Less than 1. So he was born.
Not even 1 year old when Tom Brady entered the NFL.
That's crazy.
That is crazy. That's wild. And I think it means a lot to play against Tom Brady in your last game. As you see after the game, Tom Brady such a sore loser. He wouldn't even shake his hand really. He was quick walk away. It's come on, that's a rookie quarterback. Give him. I don't know. I feel like you've been in the league long enough to give him.
I'm not. Are we sure that's? I didn't see it, but are we sure that's what it was?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean,
Tom normally goes over and speaks to the other quarterback. I mean, he gave Brock Purdy a ton of props, and I get it. Desmond Ritter is no Brock Purdy, but who is?
I don't think Tom Brady liked losing to the Falcons, because if you're Tom Brady, you're the Falcons suck. They fucking suck, and I've never lost to them before, and this is my first loss to them. I'm curious,
he has to have a pretty low.
He was mad when they took him out of the game. When they brought in the next quarterback, he was so pissed when Blaine Gabbert went in. I
mean, everybody gets pissed when Blaine Gabbert goes in.
I know, absolutely.
Jeez.
But so legend. Just finishing off this little Falcons. I would like to say this over the course of the season, the young guys that we drafted last year and this year and our like young signings we had all played really well and got better as the season went on. Our offensive line from last year to this year, without adding any other pieces, went from a bottom 5 to a top 5 offensive line in the league. A lot of that has to do with our new coach we hired in the offseason. Our offensive line coach did an incredible job this year. And also it just shows that as much as we dislike some of the decisions Art's making, he also, from a coaching perspective, is doing something right when it comes to getting the most out of these players. And Terry Fontenot is doing something right when he's being able to get these players on budget deals who other teams aren't giving a chance, and then we're literally getting the most out of them we can. So I would say I'm pretty optimistic going into next year, and I'm excited to talk more about the season as a whole reflection, but also the upcoming offseason next week. Do you have any other closing remarks for the Falcons?
No, better than expected.
Yeah, well, yes.
It was based on
no, it was.
Yeah.
They were a better team than we thought. Hayden and I still were right up until the last 2 weeks for the 5-win mark. But
hey, you gotta play the whole season.
Hey, I will say, Dean Pease got mad at a reporter last year when we had to beat the Giants on a last-second field goal when the Giants were very bad.
Yeah.
And he said, it is hard to win games in the NFL. And I want to compare that to what Kirby Smart says about hard to win games in the SEC. Both statements are true. One of them's a lot more true than the other, and that's the NFL one. And so I do have to at least give Arthur Smith that credit. They won 14 games in his first 2 years, so that's way better than I would have thought.
I agree. I think also this year in the NFL was the most one-score game deciders in like NFL history this year, or something like
total
that.
amongst all
total.
games.
Yeah, I can't find the number right now.
The parity in the league has always been there, but I think more so than now.
It was like an all-time high this year, 100%. And the Falcons, just a little piggyback off of that, is the Falcons won 7 games. We lost 8 games by 1 score, which last year, the year before, we won most of those 1-score games. And I think the big difference was
6 of our 7, yeah.
Yes, and the big difference was we had veterans last year who knew how to finish a game. This year we had a lot of young players who didn't know how to finish games. Yeah, I mean,
makes a difference.
It does make a difference, and it proved this year. And I think that's why next year, like, man, we haven't made any moves yet, but I could foresee I'm so optimistic about Ritter and this team. I could see like a 10-win season, especially with how weak the division is. But we'll get more into that as the schedule comes out. We're a ways away from that, but there's a lot to be optimistic about. Before we end this, I do want to say I was listening to the Falcons in the season press conference with Terry Fontenot and Art today. And the part I want to talk about is nothing they said about the Falcons, but what they talked about UGA. They're talking about how Kirby, after being able to get his program, because this is his 5th, 6th year, he's able to get his program to his point. So it just shows you what happens when you have buy-in from the team and from the players, and what can happen when you're trying to establish a culture. He said it's just impressive how talented that team is, how much talent they brought to the NFL, but then were able to coach back up the players the next year. And they Art couldn't stop complimenting on Stetson Bennett. Just what a great player, what a great story. And both Terry Fontenot and Art complimented just football in Georgia, just how good football in Georgia is. Terry was talking about how he went and saw his son play over the weekend, and he said the things I see 11-year-olds do on the field just it's not normal. You don't see it anywhere else. So
I do like how much he's embraced that. Remember we talked about when Georgia played Tennessee, Arthur Smith himself was there. He went and watched the Georgia-Tennessee game. Of course,
we drafted 2 Georgia players last year, Justin Schaefer and John Fitzpatrick.
Sure he probably wanted to get a look at Jalen Carter, but which I don't think we're getting. We're definitely.
I think we missed out on that. Yeah,
I think the Bears
ended up at 8, right?
Yeah, I think what'll happen is the Bears will trade pick 1 to pick 4, and then they'll get Jalen Carter there. Which
I agree.
Did y'all watch that thing that I sent you today of one guy's analysis? He thinks that the Bears are going to stay at 1, draft one of the quarterbacks,
and then trade Justin Fields,
get multiple picks for Justin Fields. I was like, it's
so
hard
because
it's hard. Finding a quarterback in the NFL that can play is the hardest thing to do, probably.
Yeah, it's why start over? It's I have this known commodity. Hell yeah. What if I trade it for this unknown commodity?
Well, a lot of people don't think that's
but I get 3 unknowns for one
I
known.
get 3 other unknowns. Yeah.
But a lot of people are Justin Fields just isn't good, but it's who has he had to throw to? You build an offense around him, you finally started seeing it work, and you have no team around him.
What if we trade him? Yeah.
What if we get rid of him? We just toss him away. Yeah. That just
Oh,
is dumb.
boy.
Yo, I think you get more for the first pick than you would for Justin Fields. Like, I don't. This just doesn't make sense to me.
No, I hope that's a rumor. Although, like, I thought about it when you sent that. I was like, oh, that's just probably one of those things that GMs called up their leak and they're putting something out there to throw people off the scent of what they're actually doing.
Yeah.
But then I'm thinking, wait, why would you do that if you have the number 1 overall pick? You get to pick whoever you want. You don't need to throw anybody off the trail. No one can pick before you. So why would you put anything out? So
I think it's just bad sports takes. Just
maybe it is.
It is. Yep.
just
Hey,
bad
they're out
sports
there.
takes.
Here included.
They are.
Hey, we say some too. Yeah, I was like, we have our fair share. You want to talk about Russell Wilson?
Oh
Hey,
wow!
when we stick
bring
to
that up out of nowhere.
Okay. Oh man, I'm gonna have to listen back through every Blursed to hear every single
I've
thing
been kind of
you
bad.
said.
First off, point that at Blake because Hayden's not alone. Hayden was joined in that thought by the rest
we
of
thought
the
the same
world.
thing. Yeah.
Not
Did-
just us,
hey.
the rest of the world.
After
Oh,
Hackett left, Wilson started playing a little bit better
He
here. at the end
did.
of the
That-
season.
they looked
That's
really
what I'm
good
saying.
last game.
I'm gonna go. I said it when the rumors came out to you guys in the Discord, but I'm gonna guarantee it now. Sean Payton is gonna go to Denver,
and
he's gonna make
year.
Russell Wilson again.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I think
and he's gonna have that defense.
I think the bigger thing was just Hackett's a bad coach, and you should have never fired Vic Fangio in the first place. But
Yes,
Yeah.
neither here nor there.
you got to be.
And
pissed
Vic
if you're-
Fangio could be someone we bring in the defensive coordinator potentially. So
That would
keep-
be awesome. I would
Ooh.
love that hire.
Keep your eyes out.
It's a
The
good
Falcons
fit.
there's a lot of good options out there, and I don't think there's many bad options. Hopefully, we don't hire one of the bad options, but there's a lot of talent out there that I think we could get a defensive coordinator. So
No, Vic would be great.
that's
When
like
we-
that's a pipe
When we
dream.
stick to Atlanta sports, we usually have a little bit better predictions. When we
Well,
get
yeah,
outside of that,
Fair
And
enough.
let's give ourselves
Yeah.
credits this year. If you were to listen to us and bet, the only losing bet you have right now is the Hawks over on wins. And I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
great point.
I mean, that's our only thing. We said Dogs would go undefeated, win a national championship. They
Yep.
did that. We told
Called
you most weeks were pretty right on points. We said that the Falcons would win more than the 4.5 games they were predicted to win. You should have nailed that money. Like, we got to start making bets on our own calls because
Yeah, we
we're
got to
making
put money down
Yeah.
on this.
let's get into the money.
Oh
We'll
boy.
make this podcast
That's how Blursed
profitable.
makes money. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, speaking of that, did y'all see the feels bad of it was this older guy? That's actually the one thing I felt bad about with TCU. You know, there were 200-1 odds going into the year, and some TCU graduate from like a long time ago. I mean, the man looked like he was in his 70s or 80s. He put an amount of money, I can't remember what it was, that the payout would have been over $3 million.
Ooh.
And they offered him going into tonight's game or
payout?
Monday night's game. They offered him a payout of like a few $100,000,
Oh,
and
man.
he said no. And
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the stakes are that high, you have to like try to like sneak into UGA's like practice or
Yeah.
something. Just to see. You need to see what's
Yeah.
gonna happen. Take
and
that
I
payout.
can't remember. Maybe a couple of 100,000 was a lot. Maybe it was just 100,000.
You got to stop
Either
being
way,
a
the
homer at that
payout was
point.
going to be over $3 million. And yeah, I would have just taken it. I would have just taken the cash.
Well, there's the guy that's from Houston that the mattress guy that's
Mhm.
super rich. You remember him? That he would always bet on the Astros and he like makes like the highest bets of all time and stuff like
Right,
that.
yeah.
He put a ton
Wait, are
of
you
money
talking
on
about
TCU.
Mattress Smack?
Yeah,
Mattress
yeah.
Mac, yeah.
He was at the game and like bet a ton of money on TCU and then so he lost a lot of his winnings from that Astros prediction.
That's crazy.
But hey, you know, when you got a lot of money, you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yes.
Wait,
Scared
wait.
money don't make money. What
Like
now?
so Mattress Mack's a different guy. This guy must hate the Dogs. He wagered 6.2 million last year on Alabama, and he wagered 3 million this year on TCU.
Oh no. Oh, so maybe that's who I was. I didn't know about the other part. I thought
This
I
might
may
be
be
someone
mixing
different
up.
than this might be someone different than
it'd
said.
be hard to think there's two $3 million bets on
Boy.
TCU. But
Well, you said the
Well,
payout
no,
was
I'd
3 million.
take
This
that.
guy wagered 3 million.
oh, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. My bad.
So this
I thought
guy's
you were saying
lost
his
9
payout was
million
that.
total.
That
He
sucks.
must hate the Dogs. He'll probably bet against us next year too.
That's fine.
Or maybe he
Better
bets
than
for us next
Ball
year
State.
and then we lose. And he
Guys,
loses.
as we're wrapping up here, we're getting into the offseason. Not as much is going on. We'll keep you updated. We're gonna keep coming back every week. Things are gonna get a little goofy. We're probably gonna get in some fights.
I'm bringing trivia back.
Bringing
So
some
watch
trivia
out.
back. It's gonna be fun. Everything that happens in the offseason we'll let you know, but we'll be here. So check back in on all your podcasting apps and the YouTubes. Leave us a review. You guys got anything before we dip out of here?
No, other than UGA is currently up 5-2 on Mississippi State. So good start.
Barn burner.
We'll
Barn burner indeed.
We'll probably go over some of the playoff games next week, talking about NFL, just because we'll probably go a little bit more national focus for a little bit when we're piecing together segments for Atlanta sports, because we are starting into that dead season of sports. But yeah, thank y'all for listening. Happy New Year. Sorry we're a little late.
Spring training's in March.
Oh, that it is. Oh, Carlos
Pictures and
Correa
catches
has like a
reporting.
4th team now or something.
Yes, Carlos Correa going to the Twins. Watch out. Oh yeah,
Watch
happy
out,
birthday,
folks.
Sarah Beth, all the way from Dallas, listening. Thank you.
Also, stay
Happy
safe
birthday.
tomorrow. Anyone who lives in the metro Atlanta area, it's supposed to be some bad storms. So,
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Thursday, while you're listening to this, stay safe today.
Is that why it got all cloudy this afternoon? Dang it. bud.
Yeah, there's a cold front coming in, and it's supposed to bring in like.
Just generally, if
High
you live in
winds.
Metro Atlanta, be careful.
That's fair.
Yeah, there was just shooting at Perimeter Mall last Friday.
And the
That's
Friday before that. The Friday before
No,
that.
that's like the Perimeter Mall is typically.
No,
safe,
I'm
but-
kidding. I'm kidding. It's Linux that you got to worry about.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, listen to this Oh No Slapper. Have a good week. Later.